If there's one thing I learned when I was dating, is let men talk. Ask them about the Roman Empire. Ask them about Barbie. Ask them about anything that's going to help them tell on themselves. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of women get wrong, myself included, when I was dating, is I was like so worried about us having a good time, right? So worried about there being a break in the conversation. And I'm very good at keeping conversations going, even in any situation, even with the most awkward person, I can keep that conversation rolling, right? But you know what? I would much rather a few moments or many moments on a date of discomfort, some awkward silences, me just rattling on and on and on and on and on and on and letting this man just say nothing. So I have given him all this information about myself and I have received none about him, right? Because if you think about it, and it's even worse for me because I'm literally a storyteller for a living. I have endless material. That's why I do like a billion videos a day. I never run out. I just actually get stressed about how many stories I want to tell and talk about because I just love telling stories. So imagine me on a date. I was just like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. Just like a clucking little chicken, whatever. And meanwhile, they're getting a free comedy show, a free storytelling show. And if they're like a total sociopath collecting all kinds of data that they will then use against me, right? And once I realized, hold on a second, I do not need this worker to like me, right? He either likes me or he doesn't. I don't need to get this person to like me. I'm not a used car salesman. I'm not, a Ponzi scheme or something, right? I'm not into manipulating anyone into liking me. If you don't see my value right away in terms of my soul, my spirit, my mind, the things I think about and say, and if you like how I look too, you don't see that right away, which most men will. If you don't see that, at least some of it right away, I'm not here to convince you. But I used to be so worried about that part instead of being more worried, do I like this man? Do I really like him? Am I so fixated on him liking me? And then in addition to that, why would I like him? Why do I like him? What about him makes me like him? Because if I don't let him talk, I'm not going to learn anything about him. So all those red flags that would give me really important information that would make me block this person, don't have access to that now. I won't short the fork up. Right? And I was also on dates where men just wouldn't talk. I would come home exhausted. And I'm like, God, I don't want to do that again. Dude was so bad at talking that I carried the whole conversation and I'm exhausted. What did I get out of that? So not only should we let men talk, we should also be very intentional about our questions. It's not about games or tests. It's literally getting to know, what does this person care about? Because if they care a little too much about the Roman Empire, or they hate Barbie, or they just read a little too much into the Second World War, just, wars in general, but not from a historical kind of lens, more there's a difference. There's a big difference. I love history. I was a history major. History is just one big old story. But whose stories are you reading? Whose perspective? Because if it's all about white men conquering the world, that is a man who's probably very attached to patriarchy and all of its conditioning. That's a huge red flag. And honestly, stop carrying the conversation in text. Hopefully you don't even end up on a date with one of these douches. Because if you are carrying the conversation on text, you're already doing too much work. Stop doing so much. I had to stop doing so much. Honestly, I promise you, whatever you're doing, probably if you're a woman trying to date men right now, you're probably doing too much. Match the energy. No more. Do not be doing anything more than what they're doing, because that is telling them, hey, I'm needy for approval or for validation, or I'm really lonely. I have low self-esteem. Please take advantage of me. Walk all over me. I'll let you. Already, I'm doing more work than you. And you're supposed to be impressing me, right? So if they suck at texting, now not everyone is great at texting, but if they are lazy at texting. Okay, now, by the way, there's caveats, there's nuances to all this. There's no rigid rules. I also try to say that because, I'm a really good writer. It's what I do for a living. Of course, my texts are going to be better than his. Although they weren't better than my husband. He texts way better than me. Way better. But in general, you can really feel a lot out in a person in those text conversations. And then honestly, I started going out on dates with them in the very end when I learned too many hard lessons, the hardest possible way. Get him on the phone. I couldn't tell me how many times I went out and spent a whole night doing like dinner and all this crap and having a terrible conversation because I didn't vet on the phone. I don't want to spend a whole night with a man who sucks. Hey, make him call you. And then you won't waste a good outfit and all that makeup and all that effort and all that time. A good half hour on the phone, you can probably tell if this is a person you even want to spend a couple hours with or whatever on a date. I don't know. Just my random dating advice from a car. I am at a raging birthday party right now. It started at 12 and is going to 4 in the morning. And I have to speak French for that entire time. And my brain is dead. So I needed to take a break and speak some English and say a bunch of nonsense about dating.